Good morning. It is time for our coffee chat for this month. We are going to talk again about the metaphorical living room in connection to obsessive compulsive disorder and exposure response prevention treatment. But as we always know, because it's coffee chats with Jennifer, we first have to make our coffee. So hold tight. Okay, so today's topic for our coffee chat, I hope you have your nice warm mug. Our topic for today is going to actually be a part 2 of the metaphorical living room, as I said in the intro. I talked about the metaphorical living room 2 months ago, month after last, and it is a practice of acceptance and commitment therapy. As I said in that video, this was an analogy that I created for my clients to help them with the acceptance of all thoughts, including our intrusive and obsessive thoughts that we always try to block out. If you haven't seen that video, go check it out, because today's video, I'm going to talk more about some other elements of the metaphorical living room, such as like troubleshooting, for example, crowd control, air quotes, crowd control in the metaphorical living room, and also kicking thoughts out. I also thought that we could talk about how like the metaphorical living room doesn't ever empty, and also some elements of how to like self-soothe in the metaphorical living room as well. So those are the topics that we're going to cover today in our coffee chat. So let's just start with some of the troubleshooting components of crowd control, or the desire to kick thoughts out of the metaphorical living room. So I was talking with a client probably a handful of weeks ago, and we were talking about the metaphorical living room, and we came to realize that the client was participating in what I've called crowd control, of what thoughts are allowed or not allowed in the metaphorical living room. I have to play bouncer a little bit, or guard, gatekeeper, whatever word you want to use for that position. But we discovered that they were kind of tallying and also keeping track of what thoughts were coming into the metaphorical living room, and then also trying to keep certain thoughts out, or monitoring how crowded the metaphorical living room gets. And when I mean by crowded, just feeling that overwhelming sense of all of the thoughts at the same time, the rushing of the thoughts. So we had to explore a little bit more with this client that you have to have an acceptance stance with who comes in the metaphorical living room. And in fact, not in this analogy, not standing at the door or the door frame or the entrance to the metaphorical living room and censoring who comes in, who goes out, how many thoughts and emotions are currently in the metaphorical living room. You as the individual have to be in your metaphorical living room, because that's where you're naturally at. These are my thoughts, these are my feelings, and so I need to be in the living room because that's where I'm supposed to be. So it's a hard practice, because naturally there's a desire to want to control the situation, and control is a natural component that we all have, OCD or no OCD. We all desire control, because control makes us feel safe, secure, comfortable. The more control I have, the better I feel, because quote unquote, I'm in control, right? So, so it's also a practice not only of acceptance, but also releasing, letting go of the control, because I'm taking more of a stance of just being in the environment, in the metaphorical living room. And my control element in the metaphorical living room is, where do I put my attention? Where do I want to put my attention? And that is where your control lies, not in, okay, you can come in, no, you have to leave, no, I don't want you here, or actually the living room's too full right now, so come back later. That's not where our control lies. The thoughts are going to come and they're going to go, and that's a practice of welcoming thought, where we accept and we acknowledge and we're aware that I could have an anxious thought, I could have a joyous thought, I could have a task thought today, and that's okay. All of those are okay. Like, I'm accepting the fact that there's a possibility that these thoughts are going to come to me today. So that's an example of welcoming thought. So, I mean, I would say that crowd control / wanting to, monitor who's in the living room, who's not in the living room, how many thoughts and emotions are in the living room, is a natural reaction when we start this exercise of acceptance, because naturally I don't want to feel overwhelmed. I don't want to feel icky, and that's where the desire to crowd control and also restrict entry into the metaphorical living room comes into play. So that leads me into the fact that the living room never empties. So this was another component that I chatted about with a different client, that they wanted to propose the question that they feel like the metaphorical living room is always so full. And they expressed the desire that, like, okay, I really like this analogy, and I hope for the day that the living room's empty, that I find some peace and the living room's empty. And I had to challenge this thought with the client, because remember, our metaphorical living room is actually our brain, right? And so our metaphorical living room will never empty, because we're always having thoughts, we're always having emotions. And so it's not about finding peace and desiring the empty living room and being able to find that peace. And in fact, it's more about finding the peace in whatever state your living room's in, metaphorical living room is in, because our metaphorical living room will not empty. It won't, because I will always have the thought that I really want a drink of coffee. I want to make sure I have breakfast. Oh, I'm really scared about my flight tomorrow, and I'm worried about, is my dog going to be properly taken care of while I'm gone? All of those thoughts and the emotions that are tagged to them are going to be flowing through my metaphorical living room. Once again, it's the combination of acceptance in the metaphorical living room, and also a practice of welcoming thought, that I could have any thought or feeling today. I mean, it is 8 o'clock in the morning, 8:08 exactly. It's 8:08 exactly in the morning. And I could have any thought and feeling today. And that's okay. And so it's the reminder about finding peace within our metaphorical living room, no matter how full it is. And that part of that peace comes from acknowledging, once again, that I'm in control of who I engage with, who I engage with in the metaphorical living room. It's my choice. I acknowledge everybody that's here, every emotion, every thought that's in the living room, but I get to decide where I give my attention. I might spend more time on the thought of, oh, I really want breakfast. And what do I want for breakfast? How long is it going to take to cook? Do I have enough time before my next session? All of those things. Like, I can spend more time there and check in with like the worry about my dog being taken care of tomorrow, right? Like, oh, yeah, my dog sitter's coming at this time. Okay, well, back to breakfast. Oh, well, what about your flight? Oh, yeah, I am worried about my flight. I want to put my attention towards breakfast. It's allowing that flexibility, in psychological flexibility in our thoughts. So, the other component that like I wanted to talk about today is the ability to self-soothe when feeling overwhelmed by the amount of thoughts or the content of a thought in the metaphorical living room. And I like to describe this as actually like, once again, bringing some of those analogies into play here of you're in your metaphorical living room, you're sitting on your metaphorical couch, and what makes you feel good when you're like, what helps you feel comfortable when you're feeling anxious in your living room? Maybe you grab your warm cup of coffee. Actually, I want a drink. I said I wanted a drink of coffee and I forgot to take a drink. So, what are some things that make you feel comfortable in your living room when you're feeling anxious? Maybe it's a warm drink. Maybe it's grabbing the comfy, cozy blanket. Maybe it's, I need to lean back and just get real comfy, cozy as possible on my metaphorical couch, right? All of those can be implemented as self-soothing, right? So for example, like a warm drink. I actually have coffee in front of me, and I find warm drinks very soothing because I can focus on the sensation, not burning myself, but I can focus on the sensation of the warm beverage going down my esophagus. I can feel the warmth and then imagine that warmth spreading through my body to help provide some comfort. The blanket could be any sort of other sensory component, tactile. I'm a big tactile person. I love to really focus on like the touch and feel of certain items, and I pull that into my self-soothing. I might grab a blanket actually, or just run my hands on the fabric of the couch and really pay attention to the fibers. It's not just, oh, it's soft, or oh, it's scratchy. Like, no, like I'm going to provide as much detail as possible in that grounding technique to help myself. I always say, like, when we're talking about like the level of detail, like think about it in the sense of like, if I want to describe this in a level of detail that if nobody else has ever sat on a couch or this couch ever in their entire lives, how would I describe it to them? How would I describe this feeling to them? That's the level of detail. You want to pull your mind really into those fine details, because like pulling that focus is helping with that overwhelming, like scattered feeling. So those are some of like the soothing, self-soothing techniques that I like to talk about like in the metaphorical living room, because the metaphorical living room isn't a torture room. You're not supposed to feel like you go into it and you're just like, I just have to be anxious in here. Yes, you're going to feel anxious, but like there's other things we can also do in this space that doesn't require you just standing here feeling absolutely awful for however long you feel absolutely awful for. It's about, like I said, all of these elements of welcoming the thought, acknowledging, increasing our awareness, acceptance, control. Where is my control? And not necessarily seeking out more control. It's just acknowledging like, where is my control in this situation? It's also about, I can self-soothe. I can also acknowledge the risks. I know in my last video we talked about like sitting on the metaphorical couch with the 50-50s. 50% chance this is going to happen, 50% chance this is going to happen. And it's all of that in the metaphorical living room, not just a torture room to go and be like, well, I'm here and like, I just have to be here and I can't do anything about it. This is our mind that we're talking about. How do we help ourselves? And everything that I've talked about in this video and in 2 months ago, the Metaphorical Living Room part 1 video, are ways that we can help ourselves. So those were a couple additional components of the Metaphorical Living Room that I wanted to share. Because naturally with any practice, there's hiccups. There's hiccups, there's road bumps, we stumble, we trip, we fall, all of those things. And so I wanted to share a little bit more of like, what some of those hiccups could look like, and also how to like help ourselves. Because the technique is only helpful for as long as it can help. And if we run into a roadblock that we don't know how to overcome, then the skill starts to deteriorate. So I wanted to share some of like these common like roadblocks that I've heard since I've started utilizing the metaphorical living room in my sessions with my clients. These are some of the roadblocks and how we can overcome them, and how I've helped my clients overcome their roadblocks so that the metaphorical living room continues to support them through their treatment and help them feel like they have like a little bit more of a grasp on something that isn't tangible. I can't hold my thoughts or my feelings like I can hold this mug. Yes, if I have a thought or a feeling about the mug, I can hold the mug, but I can't hold the thought or the feeling that's associated with the mug, right? So I hope that this was helpful. Please feel free to leave me a comment. I'd love to know what you think. And also go ahead and hit like and subscribe so that you can be notified when I post more videos. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. Nice, bright and early. I hope you have a fabulous day. I will see you next time, and cheers.